I'd like to ask, this has been quite a fascinating 2 days, if I say so myself. And Peggy, I know, what's your takeaway from these last 2 days? And from Jakarta, what have you learned particularly?
I think it's urbanization is so interesting because we've been focused so much on infrastructure, I think, for so long. And what I've been taking away from these conversations is thinking about not just the infrastructure, the buildings, but what's between the buildings, yes. Right? How do we make the space between the buildings livable? How do we make culture out of that livability? So rise one level above that. So I think the richness of the audience that you've brought here, from the Dallas head of the Dallas Art Museum to people like JT who are using visuals and movies to describe North Korea, very fascinating group of stakeholders. So I hope to join the next one.
Great, thanks. Reuben.
Well, Peggy snatched my line, so. But I just wanted to reiterate that point, which is that cities are really about people, not about buildings. And so just paying more attention to the people portion of it is important. And the other thing, which I certainly saw it on a couple of panels, which is affordability.
Yes.
I mean, cities have to be affordable to people. It is not about people like us. It's actually about, so the way I think about it is cities are poverty reduction engines. And so therefore, it's important to have cities be affordable. So the more and more conversation we can have about affordability, whether it's about housing, transportation, whatever, I think it'd be very useful. So if I had to make a recommendation to you, I would actually do an entire cities conference just based on affordability.
Well, that's that's a theme that we're looking at more and more closely. And by the way, what you just said could be spoken today in New York or in San Francisco and in many, many other cities, of course. It's a very big issue. AJ.
Well, my biggest takeaway is fairly general. It looks like a lot of the discussion has been around moving away from structures and dogma and old ways of thinking and really moving into a world of ideas. And whoever has the best idea wins. So I think that was very refreshing for me, because in so many ways when we look at cities, there's so much about organization and rigor. And there is a reason why there's so many officials from different parts of the world here to learn from each other.
Right.
And so this idea of competition, old idea, collaboration, new idea, I think that's a big deal, and that was my biggest takeaway.
Good, thanks. And we're so honored to be here in Jakarta, and Pakari, give us your couple of ideas from what you've taken away, you and your colleagues, by the way.
Okay, thank you, John, for these 2 days is really an eye-open summit for us. Yeah, we learned many things. That the speakers were fantastic. It's really out-of-the-box thing that I've never been imagined before. And then on behalf of city government, I would like to say thank you for choosing Jakarta as the host city. I heard from the foundation that there are 14 other cities considered to be the host city of the NewCities Summit 2015, and thank you for voting us. And then this is not the end. I hope this is just a start, that next will be more events, more meetings coming happen in Jakarta. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Mathieu, where are you? You're the man with the mic.
I'm here. This is the time when I walk around with a microphone. So
let's open up to discussion. Please don't be shy. Town halls are meant to have a lot of people saying their opinion and voicing their views.
I've got one right here. Yeah. Gentleman we like a lot.
Please identify yourself.
Hey, John.
Hi.
I'm Ashwin Mahesh. I'm from Bangalore. This is the 3rd time that I'm coming to a NewCities Summit. And
thank you.
So thank you, actually. But I've sort of begun to ask the question, how much are we pushing the frontier of what new cities could be, and moving that ball along? And if you look at what we've seen consistently over the years, there's a lot of people saying citizens are the city, that really the future is getting more and more people involved in the management of the cities, in decision-making, in planning, and all sorts of things. And so I think it would be useful to have a themed session, maybe the next year's theme can be, that really if we were to reimagine government in the city, not like it was set up when your country or my country became independent, but like we were setting it up in 2015, how would we do it differently? And how could you begin to imagine the city in a way that is just run by a lot more people and in ways that are much more responsive to what is needed in that city without the constraints of formal representative decision-making that appear to slow a lot of people down? Because we're seeing year after year, we get mayors come here and say, we're doing this and we're doing that. About half of it is good, but half of it is just stuff that they shouldn't really be doing at all in the first place. And it's going to take them 10 years to learn that. And we have to focus on driving their learning in a way that says, this is the right stuff to do, and you're not even close to doing the right stuff in some cases.
I second that.
Yes. I mean, I think much is happening almost anyway because of social media, et cetera. So the conversation is so much louder, and we hear that. But thank you very much. I think the transformation of city governance is so important.
Tim over there has a
Great.
customer.
Yeah, my name is Karen Tambayong. I'm from Indonesia. What I miss actually in this platform, this is a great platform. It's very inspirational and it's great. There is a lot of exchange of knowledge. And what I miss is the food system. So we haven't talked anything about the food at all.
Food.
Food, yes. Food has become a very important issue. And I think we have to talk about that next. And also the green infrastructure. You missed that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I couldn't agree with you more on both points, actually. Peggy, food, which we all like.
I can talk
can
to you
see.
afterwards. One of the things that my organization, JUCCCE, works on is a new way to eat. So we're teaching young kids how to eat in a way that's good for you and good for the planet. We just launched a paper a couple weeks ago in Stockholm on this program. And the reason why we're working on this is because food is our single largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. So I would second that. I would definitely second the community engagement. Even in China, we are struggling with this issue. So love both those ideas.
Great.
Right here. Hold on. I'm coming to you. If you could just please introduce yourself, please.
Hello. Yes, my name is Tommy Tamtomo from Surya University. Congratulations for the beautiful event. And it's not very easy to do such things like this. What I missed is actually early warning and simulations in city growth. Early warning means, do we have the methodology to know where the city growth going into unhealthy situations, or it is going in healthy situations? Also, the prediction system. How do you predict the growth of city? Is it going to grow like a cancer, or is growing healthily? Something like that. So it's a kind of digital city simulation system with pixels and everything. So you can make pixels represent human and back to human again. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. Please, don't be shy. Mathieu.
There's somebody over there. Gareth.
Yes. So Gareth Mitchell here, and I thought I'd come here and learn about the built environment and architecture and infrastructure, utilities, networks, and in fact I have learned all those things, but I kind of expected to learn them and learn more about them. What has been a surprise is that I've come away with a kind of economics education that I hadn't been expecting. And at nearly every panel, somebody at some point has said something that's made me think differently about markets, about how scarcity can be combated and how scarce resources can be redistributed. A gentleman just up the front there said, the competition, an old idea, collaboration, the new kind of thing. And of course, Mohammed Yusuf's brilliant keynote this morning when he talked about social businesses and trying to achieve the same outcomes as charities, but doing so, as he described it, in this more sustainable way, that it's like an engine that just keeps moving. And the whole idea that we shouldn't think about people who are unemployed as unemployed. They're all entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs. And it made me feel, I'll feel very sheepish the next time I get my paycheck as just an employee within a machine. And just very quickly on that other theme about economics, I've had a real economics education in the fantastic What Works sessions. And you've been plugging them, and you've been absolutely right to plug those sessions because they've been fascinating. Every one of them has made me think, I should have had that idea. Why isn't that me up there having that? It's such a simple, brilliant idea. Why didn't I come up with that? And it's true, we could have spoken perhaps more at this conference about food, as my friend here at the front has said. But of course, Suraj at Socotext has given this lovely presentation about using a mobile platform for bringing together growers and vendors in Nairobi. And so he's made me think again about bringing liquidity to a market. That's what he's doing. He's bringing together a buyer and seller in this really simple but effective way. So basically, I need to go back home and find my A-level certificate, the education certificate you get when you're 18 years old. And I had an A for economics. And I realized that I need to go home and rip that certificate up because I realized I knew nothing until I came here. So congratulations to all of you for a great conference.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Gareth. John, we have a question or a comment maybe from somebody who's very special. Maybe you could stand up, Indra, if you don't mind, because if you did not like this summit, then it's our fault. But if you did like this summit, then you have this lady to thank, Mrs. Indra Sukirno, who is the one who brought us to Jakarta, the head of the Jakarta Convention and Visitors Bureau. So, Indra, congratulations. And I'm very keen to know if you think we did a good job, if we didn't disappoint you.
Of course not, Matthew. I'm so glad that finally you are here. After a long preparations, all the ups and downs and all in betweens, but I'm so glad that I can welcome everybody to my city, Jakarta. If you ask me about the conference itself, this is a conference which is very unique because it brings together the city and public officials in interactions with the private sectors, the urban planners, architects, so it's not just, we are not just talking what we would like to do, but we are doing it. And I hope everyone, when you go back to your own countries, you will have to start with the #1 actions that to make it alive. So it's not just a conference that you left behind and no follow-ups. So we would like to have all that have already networked here to continue their networking in the future. So I'll see you in the next NewCities Summits.
Thank you, Indra.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I recognize a lot of faces and have had the great pleasure of speaking with many of you. My name is Sonia Mijokovic, and I'm from Youthful Cities, co-founder and global director of Youthful Cities. This is our 3rd year participating. I've had the pleasure of being at 2 and my partner at the other one. And I'd just like to say that definitely the NewCities Summit has become something we look forward to every single year. I think it's a unique opportunity to share ideas and whatnot. And as a challenge, I'd definitely love to keep connected with everybody and keep that conversation going throughout the year. In terms of the work that we're doing, we've created an index where we're illuminating and decoding the power of urban youth. And I think that including young people, especially considering that they make up 50% of the world's population, is critical to building our cities. A lot of the discussions that I've had throughout the last 2 days have been about, the speak of the future as if it's something that will just show up. But even us participating in this summit for the last 2 days and every single day, all the decisions that we make, it's actually building that future. So I would challenge everybody to include young people in the decision-making process and in the processes in general, and to realize that young people really are the world's largest untapped resource. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about cities from a particularly youthful perspective, we do have a number of reports and information which we're always willing to share and collaborate. So I'd like to thank everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all next year.
Sure, Reuben.
Just to expand on that point a little bit, it's not just children, it's not just youth, but it actually goes one level below, which is children. And so if you're interested, there's a foundation by the name of Bernard Van Leer Foundation, which actually works very actively on making cities more child-friendly. Not youth, but child-friendly.
Ellis, you should talk.
Yeah, Ellis Rubinstein, the head of the New York Academy of Sciences. I know you're looking at early childhood education.
Yeah, this is like a segue to me, but
Yeah.
first I want to thank you for another great event, John. We're delighted that the New York Academy of Sciences and the New Cities Foundation are going to be partnering. And one of the issues that I thought was great about this was that, at least in the side conversations, a lot of people that I met were interested not merely in the infrastructure of the cities, but in the people of the cities, and in particular the children. And I had some very good conversations with folks from a remarkable number of cities about early child development, which is one of the hottest things going. We're doing an alliance with UNICEF and many cities, and hopefully the New Cities Foundation, on early child development. That includes both what we can do with nutrition and cognitive development of children from 0 to 2, because too many of us our politicians are very pleased with themselves if they just do preschool, and by the time the child is 4, it's a little too late. So, but what I actually really wanted to say until this topic came up was that I thought one of the most interesting take-homes was the governor himself. And it was wonderful to see Jakarta and the wonderful people here from Indonesia, but the governor gave one spectacular talk, did he not? How many politicians have we heard come up there and speak from the heart about cutting out bribery and bringing real services to the people? So I wanted to just thank the governor, and I was very impressed. Wish we had lots more politicians like that.
And we'll hear more from him in a second because he's coming. He's in the building.
Great.
Any other comments?
Thank you,
Please,
Ellis.
don't feel shy. Be Texan. Last year we were in Texas and they were all jumping at us. There's a gentleman here and over there. I'm going to ask for your help.
Thank you. Try that again, folks. Eli Konvitz from Atkins. What Sonia just said about youth is actually, of course, very, very important. There's another side to that, naturally, which is aging. Not just in places like Japan, which have very well-known aging populations. Of course, Indonesia has a young population. That won't last forever. You've got 15 or 20 years of the demographic dividend. Then it starts to go downhill. But across the West, of course, countries are getting older. Populations will eventually shrink. That will have great ramifications for cities, for infrastructure, for economies, for the environment, etc. So many of the things that we need to deal with in order to make places child-friendly, youth-friendly, are also things that we need to do in order to make cities friendly to the older people. So that's another thing that we should also be thinking about, because they're not in conflict. Thank you.
Absolutely. No.
I'm sorry. I'd just like to say that instead of what I missed here, what I learned here, which is a great deal, and one of the things I'd like to learn more about, and which I've worked in a lot in the last couple of years, is the financing and funding of all these great ideas, because I agree that people are the heart of a city, but we also need systems in order to function well. I can't change my solid waste system in Bangkok by myself. I depend on a system to encourage recycling, reuse, and so forth. So if we could or if you could all do more on the side of how do we make these things real, and it has a lot to do with how to pay for them. That would be very, very useful, because I've been grappling with that issue over the last couple of years, and I continue to look for all answers to that.
That is obviously a very, very big issue. The world needs an enormous amount of infrastructure and the growth of the physical plant of the city to cope with the urbanization. And something we look at very closely.
All the way in the back. I'm going to be lazy and I'll go back and then I'll bring it to you.
Yes, thank you very much for.
Sorry.
Yeah, my name Deden Rukmana. I teach in the United States, but I'm Indonesian. And first of all, I like to commend New Cities Foundation for doing this great event. For me, when I see, especially with that Jakarta Urban Challenge, when I see these 3 projects, they are very creative, they are very innovative, and I think you also had hard time to select these 3 among these more than almost close to 300. So this is the evidence that your event is great. So many applicants, so many young people try to compete in this event. And then when these 3 finalists come up, I just so amazed with their creativity. So they know the system, the knowledge from North America, from Europe, right? But they use the roots of Indonesia, the knowledge of Indonesia. So that's why I just thankful for New City Foundation to bring this up, to stimulate Indonesian people, the young people, because they are the future of Indonesia. Not just Indonesian, but also the world too. So I just like to thankful for New City Foundation for hosting this great event.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
John,
yes.
Can I just quickly respond to the point about financing?
Please, absolutely.
I think, so people who are neck deep in financing know this really well, but I think we need to explore much more how to monetize land to pay for infrastructure in cities. So for instance, so transit-oriented FAR. So for instance, does it make sense to increase FAR along new planned transit routes, which can then basically be monetized and pay for itself? So in fact, I think that's one of those things where we could really, really learn from global best practice in terms of how various cities are thinking about how to finance infrastructure, but specifically about land monetization.
Yes, okay, and I hope Dr. Kim is listening, wherever you are. That's who's our senior fellow on infrastructure financing. Thank you, Reuben.
My name is Satrio Utomo. I am one of the 5 semi-finalists from Jakarta Urban Challenge. First of all, I want to thank you for you to hold this great event. I think one of the most important problem in this context is not the idea, but how to really realize the idea, how to actualize the concept that we've been thinking from all of these years, especially here in Indonesia with difficulties in bureaucracy and obstacles in many fields, especially the triple helix between private sectors, the public, governments, and the citizens itself. To me, that's the most important thing to talk about, how to realize the idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had, oh,
there we go.
Hello. I'd like to, my name's Alistair Parvin from WikiHouse Foundation. I've got to say, there's a paradox in the middle of urbanism that's sort of been underlying us for the last 20 or 30 years, which is real estate, which is that for about 20 or 30 years, we've seen real estate has been one of the driving industries driving urban development. But at the same time, massive land price inflation is a crisis which is hitting almost every developed area now. And it's driving massive, as we know, and we've heard about so much over the last couple of days, it's driving massive problems of inequality, stopping development, it's creating crises in terms of infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. So there's this really interesting paradox. Being brutally honest, I half expected to come here and find a whole bunch of people really bought up to that 1990s idea of, hey, it's all about, cashing in on real estate-driven regeneration, and I haven't found that. I've found loads and loads of smart people asking incredibly smart questions. And I feel like almost we're pointing the way to something beyond that economic model, beyond that paradox where we're dependent on an economy that's also creating our own housing crises. But at the same time, I think, in a way, I'd like to push this challenge to the next New Cities Foundation conference. In the way that you raised earlier, moving from the old way of thinking to the new way of thinking, I almost feel like there's a new way of thinking about how we finance and fund and invest in urban regeneration, which hasn't been found yet, and into urban development, which hasn't been found yet. And I feel like there's lots of people over the last 2 days who've been sort of pointing towards what it is, but I still don't quite know what it might be. And I feel if we had another 2 days, we might be able to get there.
Let's all stay
Unlock
here.
the code.
We're all going to stay here, right here. We'll bring you drinks. We'll keep going.
I'm happy to stay for another couple days, by the way.
Good. We have a question here, John.
Thank you. I'm Sri from the Surya University, the first research-based university in Indonesia and probably the only one right now. We're planning on building a smart city and a smart campus, so this conference has been a heaven for me and also for my colleagues who have been here. I commend you on the breadth of the speakers that have come from all over the world. The highlight of this conference for me, because I work with a lot of youth from elementary school until undergraduates, the What Works speakers and also the finalists that presented for the Jakarta Urban Challenge were probably the highlights for me of this conference. And I think it should have a nice round of applause again for all those young people. One aspect being that if the youth think so much about the challenges of building cities, of making cities livable for them and for other people, then there is hope for this world, for our Mother Earth. And also the fact that I wish also, if there was a panel of speakers, I don't know if this would work, but if we had a mixture of these youth and also the distinguished people, speakers who already have the experience, probably a conversation between the youth and the more senior people would probably come up with even more new ideas that would be very much interesting. Because they come with a different angle. What they see with their eyes in this world, this digital world, which is probably not even my generation. I was not born in the digital generation. Even my youngest son, he was not born when cameras and films were around. So his classmates, when a photographer came up with a camera and a film, they said, you just took a picture of us, where's the picture? So we said, oh my God, the instant generation. So basically, I don't know, if next time around next year, if you wanted to have a mixture, 1 or 2 panels have a mixture, see what happens, it might come out well. One self-criticism for my own country. I just hope for all of you who have just come to Jakarta for the first time, you don't find this a terrorizing city. Because I know some of my colleagues have been painting the city of Jakarta as a city full of violence and crime. There are pockets. There are pockets in every major city. And I know Jakarta has its share of youth who are also building the city into something more livable. So, again, I know there are a lot of speakers in Indonesia who would also be able to bring about the topics that I've brought. And maybe anytime around, what I would also like to see among the audience is also more of my own people and more of the younger people. I know most of the finalists are here. That would be good. But if we could fill up the plenary hall and fill them with even half of them with our own Indonesian people from all the cities in Indonesia, that would have been a great thing. Because this conference is something that we can learn a lot from. Thank you very much.
Thank you. More youth. Fully support the notion.
We're counting on all of you, I think, to sort of spread the word. And if we can help at New Cities Foundation to focus on Jakarta more and do further collaboration, as Hadi was saying, I think we'll be happy to do that. Tim, did you have a question over there? There's one in the middle. I'll go. There you go.
Hi, I'm Grace from Jakarta. I just want to deliver several things. The first one is do you have any follow-up meetings or something like that to follow up all of the things that we have talked about the last two days? And the second one is about these last 2 days we are talking about everything that's seen from the outside. I mean about the infrastructure, about the infrastructure, for example. Do you think that the psychological side is important for the city foundation? Because for me, as I see psychological to apa ya? Can I speak in bahasa?
Sure.
Ya, ya. Jadi kalau sekarang kan beresinnya yang di atas kelihatannya, yang kelihatan di atas gitu. Kenapa? Kalau misalnya kita coba, ada yang bisa mas? Kalau misalnya kita coba beresin dari yang dalam, dari sisi psikologinya dulu, karena masing-masing orang kan punya masalah yang dampaknya kalau dikumpulin itu bisa besar gitu kan, bisa bisa besar gitu. Gimana kalau mulai dari fondasinya dulu, dari masing-masing orang, personalitinya dulu, dari orangnya masing-masing, itu gimana? Terus yang ketiga, kebetulan ada Bapak Ahok juga di sini. Dari dulu saya pikir karena selalu banyak bangunan kan di Jakarta, di kota-kota besar. Banyak mall, banyak apartemen, banyak apa segala macam gitu. Semuanya monopoli pohon ditebang, terus sumber air tanah juga mulai hilang gitu. Ada nggak yang kepikiran untuk buat taman sebagai pusat hiburan, tapi dari sisi mungkin bisa dibikin komersial juga, karena mungkin buat sebagian orang untuk bikin taman itu tidak menarik karena tidak menghasilkan uang. Gimana kalau dibikin taman yang besar, yang bagus, yang nyaman, tapi ada dari sisi komersialnya juga. Terima kasih.
Okay.
Harry, thank you.
We've recruited an impromptu translations. Thank you so much, Harry.
Yes,
Can you?
What she's trying to say is that imagine this is a building, and as a building we need a strong foundation. So we need a good, a strong foundation as a base of the building, for example. And then the third one, if I'm not mistaken, is she was answering, would it be any other park in the city where it could be the commercial one, because so many trees are cutting down, so many public spaces were changed into a business area. So it will be better if there will be another park, open park, a new park for a public space, and could be a commercial one. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one question over here from this gentleman.
James Loimbazi from Uganda, Kampala Capital City Authority. Mine is a health-related issue. I didn't hear about drug addiction, prostitution. I know that the youth normally are not employed, so in most cases they go into prostitution. So which prostitution leads to HIV/AIDS related issues. So we didn't talk about this. Maybe next time we need to involve discussions on this issue. Thank you very much.
Discuss urban ills, yes, indeed.
I think we have time for one more question. If there's anybody who, oh, here. Ronita.
Thanks. I'm Pranita Saxena. I was part of the What Works series last year, so thank you for having me back again. And I was speaking to somebody else about this. It's funny how much can change in a year, because I'm now no longer at that startup that was featured at What Works and started something else, which is called Citizen Gauge. And we basically build mobile tools for communities to start self-managing their civic issues, starting with waste. So I actually don't have a question, and it's more so a request, which I think a lot of folks have echoed. I really look forward to coming to the NewCities Summit now almost every year, because it's like the coolest club of friends that you can ever meet and possibly have lifelong connections with. And even though I've seen Catherine now for the second time, and it's this big hug, and it's this idea that no matter where we are in the world, there is something that unites us, which is probably this idea of urban innovation. And so I think there's something that starts at the summit each year, and I wish it didn't end afterwards. So whether it's this thing about funding, I think overall it's about collaboration. And I think you do such an incredible job of curating the right mix of people, from whether it's really important, well-known, world-renowned people who come and present and speak to us, or the What Works series, which again feels like a club of cool kids from around the world. If you could then take that forward and think about other ways that you can really curate collaboration beyond the summit, it would be incredibly helpful, because I know that everyone in this room is the sort of person that I would love to work with, and sometimes you can't find those people in the city that you're in, but you have the same struggle as a lot of other urban innovators. So that's something that I would really request and would love to see. I think all of us would be happy to help you with it.
Thank you. That's something we should look into. But I know that if the foundation is a club, I never quite thought of it quite that way. But if it is a club, I'm really delighted that we now have many new Indonesian members of that club. And I think that's, for me, that's the best thing about these past 2 days. So I think on that note, I thank all of you, Peggy, Reuben, AJ, Pakhari, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. I wish we could continue it for another couple days, but alas, no. So thank you very much, and
thank you.
Big round of applause.